And now, ladies and gentlemen,
Put your thumbs up and say it's Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo, Tickety Boo, everything's Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo, son. Tickety Boo.
Tickety Boo!
Hello and welcome back to Tickety Boo. Today we're shining a light on something that many of us carry silently, and that's self-punishment. Not always the big dramatic stuff, but the quiet regrets, the guilt we replay, the voice that says we should have done better. But maybe what you needed back then wasn't punishment, it was compassion, and maybe it's time to give yourself that now. Question to our viewers and listeners: have you ever looked back at a version of yourself and thought, how the hell did I let that happen? I know I can. What was the last moment in your life, Iona, when you look back and went, how did I let that happen?
Actually, it was my mum's birthday a couple of days ago, and
Right.
as you know, she's also passed. And the thing I beat myself up most about was because in her, the last 10 years of her life, she was quite difficult. And how could I have let that happen? For me, it was more about, why did I behave that way? Like, how could I continue? So I wasn't always as patient with her as I could have been. Because she was challenging. And so at the time, it was lashing out. And so we had to, she was challenged. She had a form of Huntington's. And so I think it was in how I reacted to being around her that I had to be really careful not to berate myself for that after she was gone, because when we lose someone, we can look at all the things we did wrong, and I wish I'd done that better if I didn't get as much time as I'd like. So it's very personal because it was just her birthday.
Yeah, it's difficult. I've never actually talked about this because it's not all that old. It's not that long ago where somebody was going through some struggles. And I offered to help. And that help led me into lending them quite a lot of money and a lot of emotional and actual support, emotional support, but actual practical support as well. Poured myself a lot into it, and only to turn around and not have any of the money repaid, for them to disappear, to ghost, to avoid, to leave, and you're left going, I feel like an absolute mug.
So what did you make that mean about you?
I felt like you're an idiot, you're stupid, you shouldn't have done that, And so I spent a lot of time punishing myself because I felt a little bit broken in it. And actually, it probably taught me more about myself than I've learned in probably the last decade, in that it's no bad thing to want to help people. But as part of that process, if you dilute yourself and put so much of yourself into it, it can blow back and it could really hit you in the face. And actually, a lot of the regret that I was feeling was grief.
Yeah.
About letting that version of me go, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. And we're both coming at the grief and regret from
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
angles there. And also for our listeners and viewers, we've just been talking about sort of the self-talk and the things we tell ourselves. But actually, there are other ways we self-punish and self-sabotage. So it can be like under-earning or keeping ourselves in a job that we feel we're not worthy for something better.
Yeah.
It can be continuously being in bad relationships. It can also show up as overworking, which you may not think that's about punishing, but it is. And so it's not always just the negative self-talk that Andy and I have just shared.
Yeah, keeping ourselves in situations that cause us a lot of discomfort and make us unhappy. One of the other things I would do as a self-punishment is I would constantly replay conversations in my head of the things I should have said and didn't say. Almost like part of me in that moment was absolutely willing, like, I need another second chance just to say this. And it was almost like if I keep punishing myself, if I keep asking the question, this punishment will lead to redemption. But it didn't. It just led to anger, resentment, guilt, frustration, sadness.
Yeah. I'm not worthy. I don't deserve this. Who am I to do this? Why didn't I do that? Like, and we can end up in a spiral. And I have something that I have recommend to everybody, no matter where they are on their journey. It's kind of evaluating and doing a self-forgiveness, because self-punishment and whatever we're punishing ourselves for, but if we can forgive ourselves for the choices we made, for what we did or didn't say, and it's not necessarily at a surface level. And it doesn't mean if somebody did something to us and we reacted in a way and we're like, how did I get myself in that situation? Doesn't mean doesn't mean the behavior is acceptable, but we're forgiving ourselves for being in that environment. Because as we've said before, forgiveness only if you're holding anger or resentment or guilt, whether it's towards somebody else or to yourself, whatever's happened, you actually hold yourself back, and we hold that in our body. And I had one mentor who was like, forgive now or forgive later. So, we may as well just get on with it and do it. And forgiving ourselves can actually be one of the hardest things you can do.
But I, as you were talking there, I was thinking about all the different forms of self-punishment that I've done over my life. Food.
Yeah, food here.
Overconsumption of food, eating my emotions away, convincing myself that if I eat all this junk food, I'll feel better, over-consuming social media, doom scrolling, to escape what I really needed to look at, knowing that just hours of doom scrolling just ends up feeling lost and disconnected and even more unplugged.
I have to say, since we're talking about self-punishment, because I too with food, but it was restriction and then binging. Also, let's not forget about self-harm.
Absolutely.
That's.
Yeah.
And for a lot of my destructive self-punishment behaviors towards myself, and particularly my teenage years, I would say probably the only reason I didn't self-harm is because I hadn't discovered it. Mind you, I also thought, so it's not because there wasn't social media, because I didn't learn about bulimia online. I thought I'd discovered the Holy Grail when I realized, anorexia, I struggled being anorexic, so I thought I'd found the Holy Grail because I can eat and I can still get really thin. So that wasn't on anywhere out for me to find. So it's...
But self-harm...
Yeah. And all these behaviors are self-harming.
Yeah.
But then we have the extreme of cutting and...
Self-harm underneath brackets, punishment.
Yeah.
Anything that we have an unhealthy relationship with is a form of self-harm. Yeah. Whether that is alcohol, food, porn, over-exercising, working too much. All of these things are, forms of self-punishment. But this self-punishment usually does start quite young.
Yeah.
Before you know how to hold guilt or shame in properly.
Because it's a way of feeling as well.
Yeah.
Or not feeling. Depends which way you're going to take it.
Numb it out, because you can't express what you're feeling. You hope to numb it out, pass it away, eat your feelings away. Fundamentally, this punishment is like a control mechanism.
Yeah.
And for me, a part of my life, if you remove that control mechanism, there would have been chaos.
Yeah.
Because there was nothing else to use to self-soothe, to process and to release. For me, I kind of felt growing up that relationships, friendships, all that kind of interpersonal relationship stuff came with conditions.
Yeah.
And if you didn't get them right, there was, it meant punishment. And so I would punish myself for not getting things right. Normally that was inside my head, berating myself.
It's the belief that you had.
Yeah, the belief that I have. But I think what we need to do is is look at the messages we picked up earlier in life about mistakes and failure.
Yeah.
Are you very much from that camp of, well, I tried and it didn't work out, I've took the lesson and I move forwards with it? Or is it, I'm stupid, I'm not good enough? Because I came from the camp of, I'm just hard on myself. Yeah, just be hard on yourself. And I will just beat myself up. But that's just cruelty disguised as discipline,
Yeah.
which never ends well. There's a big difference between punishment and self-discipline.
Yeah.
The self-discipline is to look at the situation, take the lesson, adapt, and move forwards.
Well, yeah, so it's punishment versus compassion.
Yeah.
Which are we choosing? And I think that's the thing, when we can start to forgive, when we can look at the beliefs we've got and learn to forgive ourselves. Because also for our listeners and our viewers, what belief are you holding on to that you're willing to let go of? And how would your life be if you let go of that belief? Or who would you be without that belief? Sometimes we hold on to a belief because that's our identity, even if it's, but I know it's not healthy for me. I know I'm punishing myself because of it. It's like, yeah, just look at your own lives and what belief am I willing to let go of?
I think we've all had those moments in life where we felt utter crap about something that's happened to us or something that we've done. And you're sat in that, oh my God, I just feel absolutely awful about this. I don't know what to do about it. It can't get any worse than this. And it's like part of you turns up at an unconscious level and goes, hold my coat. I'm going to make this much worse for you. Let's overthink it. All the words you said, what you didn't do, how you should have said it, how bad you are, how much you've let yourself down, how much you'd let everybody else down. It's all, the way you speak to yourself that keeps you small. That's not new. Certainly for me, it was something that I'd had all of my life. And what I had to learn was discipline with compassion. And what that means is the lesson here, or where you went wrong, or should I find myself in this situation again, this is what I would do differently. That is discipline with compassion.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you need to do. Punishing yourself is where you spiral, but actually compassion, the energy is completely different.
Yeah, and along with that, if we look at the forgiveness, if you forgive yourself, what are you then allowing to be possible? Because that can be scary too, like letting go and then moving on. But like if you let go, the belief you're willing to let go of, work on your forgiveness of self, then what is possible? If you're not rooted to the past with regret and punishment, what is what's possible? It's unlimited.
Yeah. I think as we speak about this, hopefully people listening are starting to reflect on how they are punishing themselves right now. Maybe without you even realizing it. You touched on this earlier. For years, I would punish myself by making myself earn rest. I couldn't rest until I was absolutely exhausted. I wouldn't allow myself happiness unless I'd been good.
That's an interesting one, isn't it? When we deny ourselves pleasure, desires, joy, play, fun. And also sometimes when people are grieving, and also for my example where it was like my mum not being here and what I did or didn't say to her, it's how does that hold us back?
Yeah, the thing is, if you punish yourself, which means you probably don't like yourself that much, you haven't got a healthy relationship with yourself, at a deeper level, you just believe that you deserve to suffer.
Yeah. And you don't.
And you treat yourself. One of the biggest things, one of the biggest sort of changes and shifts that you can do to stop this self-punishment is actually to learn to like yourself a bit better. If you sort of self-loathe. I
mean, for a lot of women, we've both shared a lot of the ways we self-punished. And I know a lot of it is learning to love ourselves. It's learning to like the person you are. I mean, a couple of episodes ago, we were talking about being okay with being like enjoying your own company, doing things by yourself. You've got to like yourself to do that.
It's hard, when you're coming from a place. I can remember a point where I was like, I'm a crap friend, crap partner, crap in business, crap at this, crap at change.
And then you look. I bet you could find all the proof, couldn't you? To prove all those
there was
things right?
evidence everywhere
Yeah.
to support the thinking.
Always
Because,
is.
I could find evidence everywhere. But again, leaning into what we said in the other episode there, it's that personal responsibility to go, oh, all right, okay, maybe some of this stuff is right, but the only person that can take control of it and do something about it is you. So, okay, what are you crap at? Take responsibility for changing it. Maybe, first of all, look at, why am I like this in the first place? What is causing me to repeat this pattern?
And also, I'm thinking from a business point of view, if you're terrible at keeping your accounts, get somebody else to do it. Like, also, it's not about forcing yourself to do the things you're not good at. We're not saying like look at everything you do wrong, and like if you're not good at math, you're going to struggle to do like accounts. Or if you don't have great organizational skills, there's no point berating yourself. Yes, you can learn to be more organized, but the thing is, look at where you are, what you are good at. What have you achieved? So instead of looking at all your flaws and where Andy can find evidence to back up all those things he was doing wrong, you can also start to look at proof of the achievements of what you've done well, where you've made good choices, and we've all got them.
Do you feel, though, at some kind of level, self-punishment is addictive?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's another addiction.
Fundamentally an addiction of control.
Yeah.
Familiarity. But the thing is, I think in those moments of when you feel addicted to that, you need to ask yourself, what do I really need right now? For a lot of the time for me, it was self-compassion, to be kinder to myself, to speak to myself in a better way, rather than I'm going to make myself pay for this. And the funny thing is, when you do that, the pattern will just repeat itself. Because it's almost like, oh, it's okay, when I get it wrong again, I'll just repeat this pattern of self-loathe and hate.
Yeah, or it's like, oh, that always happens to me. Oh, I can never do it. So you basically, you give yourself, like, you're approving, like, that stamp of approval. Oh, yeah, this is what I do.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, and so you kind of, and we've all seen people in our lives who've done that.
I think, when you get things wrong, which you will, and the moments where you reflect and you slip up, asking yourself, what would I say to a younger child that was feeling this way? And then say it back to yourself. Yeah.
And also get curious. So we've talked a lot about compassion and giving ourselves permission to work through this, but it's also curiosity. Is huge, curiosity, why this is happening. Isn't that interesting? It's something I get my clients to ask. Isn't that interesting when you find yourself repeating a pattern or reacting in the same way to something or a new trigger? But it's being curious beyond that. It's like, well, what would life be like if I forgave myself? What would life be like? Well, let me look at that. And then, or what is possible? So if we can get curious, and then with curiosity comes joy, comes expansion, we get to explore and have adventures. Well, what would happen if I made choice B instead of choice A?
I think, but to get to the curiosity, you need to step outside the self-punishment.
Yeah.
Because you can't be curious and hating yourself at the same time.
You can't be in two places at once.
So fundamentally, in order to get curious, you need to ask yourself better quality questions, don't you? Why is it that this pattern keeps recurring in my life? What is it that I need to change to get me better outcomes in this situation? Better quality questions are the way.
And also, we're not saying that you have to do this alone. You can find a support network. We're not saying it has to be a therapist. It could be a trusted friend. Don't go and ask for support with somebody with this who's also very toxic and is going to keep feeding that punishment to you as well and nurturing that. But like, look for positive support where you can get that positive feedback to help you break those cycles.
So a question to those listening and to you, Iona. What's one thing you'd say to your past self if you could sit beside them now about this?
The one that springs to mind is this too will pass. And because I think a lot of reflecting on some of my own self-punishment, which some of them seem quite extreme, this too will pass, and that you are, and that you're lovable. And I think anytime we're in that moment of, not that I would have said, oh, I'm unlovable, but if you're not good enough, if you're berating yourself for something, you're looking for love, you're looking for compassion and compassion for yourself. So this too will pass, and you're lovable.
I think I would say to my younger self, don't react, reflect.
And that's a good one.
Obviously, that's quite difficult for a 5-year-old to do. But yeah, reflection. There is so much in the quality of those conversations when you do self-reflect and you look back at situations and maybe do stand in that mirror and take a bit of a look at yourself. But yeah, don't react. I mean, the past explains you, but it doesn't own you. Yeah. That's the key takeaway. And if you're looking at the stuff and you're doing the work and you're changing, you shouldn't be paying for stuff anymore.
Yeah. And it's also, just as a reminder, you didn't do anything wrong either. Past behaviours have been in response to learned behaviours, and you did the best you knew how.
But even if you did do wrong, you got two choices. You can continue to spend the rest of your life beating yourself up and feeling awful about it, or you can reinvest that effort into creating better behaviours, changing your life, not repeating the patterns, and moving forwards. Because you can continue to beat yourself up and feel all those things. It's not going to change the thing.
True.
And it's not about people forgiving you. It's about you forgiving you and moving forwards and having a bit of compassion and allowing yourself to learn. Stop ruining everything in your life because you are kind of doing the best you can do with what you've got at that time. I think that, I think that's a lot nicer way of sort of saying it, because you've very probably been punishing yourself for long enough in life. In most parts, punishing yourself for stuff that you didn't really know about, punishing yourself for the silence, for the delay, for the regret. But you don't have to be that version of yourself anymore. And that version of you wasn't always bad. They were just trying to survive with what they knew at the time. And maybe it's time now just to forgive them a little bit. And it's maybe time to forgive yourself as well. As the phrase goes, not to forget, but to grow.
Yeah.
Don't react, reflect. I hope you found this useful. Insights into some of the things that we do, and actually the takeaway from today is just try and be a bit kinder to yourself. You're not your past. Mm-hmm. As always, thank you very much for joining us on this episode of Tickety Boo. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, please click that follow, subscribe button. And if you're watching on YouTube, press that bell subscribe icon so you get notified when we release new episodes weekly. Thank you very much for watching and listening.
If you or someone close to you needs to access mental health support, please contact your GP, or if it's out with normal office hours, get in touch with NHS 24 on 111. Alternatively, contact the Samaritans on 116 123. All calls are free of charge from any phone. You can also find more support information on the Tickety Boo website, ticketyboopodcast.co.uk.